We're talking to a female in her 40s, for example, who is starting her fitness journey. What are the top 3 supplements that you would recommend and why?
So if she's just starting out, my first and foremost would be a protein, right? That's going to support muscle recovery and help with staying full, which is so big when you're first starting out, right? When you're first starting out in your training, you're going to be dying of hunger and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. Have a protein shake. You'll be fine and you're going to get that protein in. The second would be
Welcome to Real Women, Real Results, the podcast where we go beyond the reps and dive into what it really takes to live a stronger, healthier, and more confident life. I'm your host, Jamie Revelle, women's fitness expert and founder of W3 Body Women's Training Gyms in Chicagoland. Each week, we'll bring you real stories, expert insights, and the tools you need to create real results. Let's get into it. Welcome to Real Women, Real Results. Today's episode is one I've been really excited about because we're diving into something that I know a lot of women are curious about, but also skeptical of, which is supplements. And not just any supplements, but our private label, the W3 Body supplement line. And honestly, I get it. There are so many products out there, so many claims, so much information, both good and bad, that it's hard to know what is actually worth it and what's quality and what's just marketing. So today I brought on someone I trust behind the scenes, Hallie from GymSupps, the company that formulates and produces our entire Fueled by W3 Body line. And with this episode, my goal is to pull back the curtain on testing, ingredients, quality, and talk about what ingredients and factors actually matter with what you're putting into your body every single day.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. We are going to dive into a bunch of good information today.
Super excited to have you. So with that, let's get started by, asking you to tell us about yourself. How did you get started with supplements, with GymSupps? What's the background of GymSupps? Let's just do a whole background deep dive.
Absolutely. Let's dive into it. So my role at GymSupps is a bit of a cross section. So I'm in a little bit of operations, distribution, strategy, kind of name it. My day-to-day kind of depends, which is nice. I don't like the same day every day. So if it's a product launch or we're working on a label or figuring out the manufacturing of something, it kind of revolves around everything in there, which is super, super awesome. But the brand itself actually started from something way more meaningful. Our founder, Jason, his wife, Summer, was diagnosed with heavy metal poisoning. And that really opened their eyes to, the products that are out on the market aren't really what they're saying they are. And it gives us an idea of how little transparency there can be in the supplement industry. So Jason deep dove into all of the information behind what it takes to create a supplement, the labels, the production, everything you need to have to make sure what you're taking is actually good, right? And so with that, we help gyms build supplement brands, revenue streams, but it started with a very real health condition and a commitment to do things the right way. And I think that's kind of what makes us different. Obviously, you look at any other big supplement company, right? And you're not going to second guess whether they're real, what's in the products, or anything like that. So it's our mission to make sure that what we're selling is correct and great for the people that we're trying to help. I've been in the supplement and fitness industry now for about 6 years, which is super great. But it honestly started as just a fun job while I was finishing up my degrees where I could gain experience, get my internship, all the great stuff. But at the time, GymSupps was probably about a year old, so it was a baby. And we were literally working out of our founder's basement, packaging orders, figuring things out as we go. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. And to see where we are now, the growth is just insane. But over time, I kind of got more involved and GymSupps started to grow, which was super great. And I kind of got to learn more about the products and the business side of things on the back end, which was super, super great. So now I'm leading up a lot of the operations and strategy. So it's been a hands-on journey from the ground up, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I was just at a conference with Jason, and he was talking about how much of a rock star that you are. So, yeah, props to you. The whole GymSupps fam is lucky to have you. So that's great.
Thank you.
So, from your personal perspective, what makes you passionate about being in this space?
I would say what makes me really passionate, kind of what took it from that fun job to, oh, this is going to be a career for me, was seeing the difference it was making in people's lives. So, I was on the back end of things and I'm not seeing the difference that it's making. I'm sending these orders out, hope it works for you. That's great. I got more involved within the gym side of things at Jason's gyms, and it was actually surreal to see how excited people were to take these supplements, right? Seeing someone feel better, get more energy, get their protein intake in, that something most people aren't really worried about. But these people, the goal they're working towards and being a part of that help, it just makes it all so much worth it. So that's what kind of gave me a real sense of purpose. It stopped being about just operations and products, but it became helping people get real results in their everyday lives.
Absolutely. And I'm sure that that's what makes you really good at your job as well, is that you have this back end passion for it and belief in it that like fuels you to get up and do what you do every day. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Good. We appreciate that. So what would you say that most consumers don't, what do they do not understand about supplements?
That is such a great question. I think that most consumers don't understand about supplements is that not all supplements are created equal, even if they look the same. Two products can have very similar labels, but be very different in terms of quality and how well they actually work. Most people assume that if it's sold online or in a big box store, if somebody's promoting it, it's been fully tested, verified, and that's just not always the case, rarely ever, to be honest. So when people feel like supplements don't work, instead of taking it out on yourself, a lot of the times it really comes down to the quality that they're using of those supplements.
And why should women, especially, 30s, 40s, 50s, really of any age, why should they care about the quality of their supplements?
Because at this point in your life, if you're a woman in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, this is where your body starts to change again. And what you're putting into it matters more and not less. You're dealing with things like muscle loss, changes in energy, hormones, recovery. These supplements can either support that or do nothing at all, depending on the quality of it. So if you're taking something every day and it's underdosed or not well absorbed, you're not just wasting money, but you're missing out on the real results that could be happening. So for me, it really boils down to this. If you're going to take something consistently, it should actually work for you. So quality over quantity, always with supplements.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to dive a little bit more into that and also just share that the idea of this podcast came to me. I was listening to a podcast that Jason was on actually, and it didn't really have to do with the deep dive into supplements. It was more of like the fitness business, but something just popped into my head that was like, I wonder, he was talking about trust from members and having a gym and being able to offer different things like supplements. Then your members are getting them somewhere, they should get them from somewhere that they trust, which is their gym. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. But I've never connected with our members at large about like, do you trust my supplements? I tell you what they do. I tell you how they help, why I recommend it, to particular women, but what's the feedback on the other end? And what are the thoughts? So that's how I got this idea to do the podcast and about building this trust simply by giving information on the back end of our supplement line and where it comes from and stuff like that. So of course that's where you come in, and thank you again for being on. So to set the stage for that, let's talk more about the supplement industry and like what's going on in the supplement industry that people don't realize. And that could be like you were talking about the big box stores, the traditional stores, Amazon, or all of these like one-off brands that are constantly marketing to me on Instagram. I don't know why they have me pegged as someone interested in supplements. But yeah, let's start there if you don't mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so funny. I always get that question if I hop on a call with somebody and they're like, well, why should I take your stuff? There's like 20 different types of protein at Sam's Club I can go and buy for half the price. If I had a dollar for every single time I've gotten that question, right?
For
But
sure.
I think what most people don't realize is that it's just how wide the range of quality really is. You have everything from these big box stores to Amazon brands to influencer brands on Instagram and newer companies popping up all the time, right? But they're not all held to the same standard, if that makes sense. So a lot of products today are built around marketing first and not manufacturing, right? So they look great, they sound great, they advertise to you great, but what's actually inside isn't always as strong or as effective as people might think it is. And as a consumer, it is so hard to tell the difference. If you're not in this industry, you don't know what to look for. And if you don't go to a gym like yours where you do promote supplements or talk about supplements, you have no idea whether, oh, this is something I should be taking and is actually going to help me. So the answer is the entire industry isn't bad, but there's a big gap between average products and truly high quality ones. And people don't realize how big that gap is.
Totally. And I know that a lot of people shy away from supplements in general because it's well known that they aren't FDA regulated. And so, are there any supplements FDA approved? And what does it take to get approved?
Supplements are not and cannot be FDA approved. Once they hit the market and are being sold, they can. But again, it always just depends on those regulations and everything like that. So essentially, what helps ensure that you're getting the right quality is making sure that those supplement brands have the right qualifications. So, for example, third party testing is a big thing. That is the number one thing you need to look for in all of your supplements. But we have to be careful because third party testing is completely optional. Third party testing, which surprises a lot of people that it is optional, companies choose to do it because, again, it gains that trust with the consumer. But a lot of companies don't choose to do that because it costs more money, right? So, for a lot of the transparency, it is way worth it to look into whether your brands that you are taking are third party tested. And when companies don't test, there's really no extra layer of verification. So you're relying on that company to be accurate with their labels and they're consistent with the product themselves of what they've created without independently confirming that. So that's where you can kind of run into things like labels not matching the product, lower dosages than what's listed, or inconsistencies from batch to batch. And a lot of the times when you feel like, I've been taking this supplement for so long, why am I not seeing a difference? It's likely going back to that third party testing and what's in that product might not actually be what's in it.
That is so crazy to me.
Isn't it wild? I mean,
Yeah.
and a regular consumer is not going to know this. So again, all those big box brands in, say, Sam's Club, Target, Walmart, a lot of them are not third party tested and you do not know what's in there,
Right.
which is kind of wild.
If that's the case, then that companies take shortcuts to keep costs down and stuff like that. What are some of those shortcuts that they take?
I think the biggest one comes down to ingredient quality and dosaging. So some companies will use lower quality raw materials and not care where they're coming from, or include less of an active ingredient than what's actually effective just to bring that cost down. You also see some things like added fillers, sugars, or formulas that look good on the label, but aren't actually built for real results. And even on the back end, skipping things like thorough testing, additional quality checks can also save money. Additionally, a big thing is most supplement companies should be operating in a CGMP certified facility, which just means current good manufacturing practices, right? But a lot of companies will not work to get that certification just because it's going to save them money.
I don't think consumers realize that.
No, it is very important. I mean, you want to make sure that where your supplement is being produced, manufactured, and shipped is good quality. Additionally, something to look at would be making sure that your supplements are being made in an FDA-registered facility. So while supplements themselves can't be FDA approved or qualified, you can make sure that the place it's being made in is an FDA-registered facility, which is a big green check.
Yeah, totally. I mean, so from what you're saying, can someone just make a product and put it out there and that's it?
Essentially, yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunately, which is the case, there are regulations in place like manufacturing standards and guidelines companies are suggested to follow. The big thing in the supplement industry is this is suggested. You'll see that word a lot on supplement labels, but there's no step where every product gets reviewed or approved before it's sold. So companies can essentially create a product and bring it to the market without any extra verification or oversight. And that's what really comes down to choosing the right brands that go above the minimum and making themselves sure they're holding themselves to higher standards.
That's so scary, honestly.
It is.
Do other countries have different standards? Just curious if you know that.
They
Yeah.
do. Yes, they
Okay.
do have different standards. So it varies kind of whatever region you're in or what country you're in. So wherever you're manufacturing and producing, you have to make sure you're following that specific set of guidelines.
And so obviously with some of the cheaper raw materials and things, it sounds like you could just be seeing zero positive effects from taking a supplement. What about negative effects from having like really low quality ingredients in the supplement?
One of the biggest effects from that is that you're not able to absorb the product really well, right? So a lot of the time people will come to us and they say, well, how good is this whey protein? Because I've tried to take whey protein and my body cannot digest it. I have horrific stomach aches, pains, my energy is so low. When in reality, it's just the ingredient quality and dosaging. So likely they're not getting the correct dosage from that whey protein and it's not going through the correct microfiltration process. So it varies from product to product, but most of the time we see that you can't absorb or digest the product well. There's buildup. It causes you immense stomach pain and all types of gut issues.
That's
It's not
awful.
fun. It's
Yeah.
terrible. And
Well, it's
companies are
like anything,
profiting off of this.
right? And that's like anything that's low quality that, people are stained and have a bad taste in their mouth basically, literally in this case, because they had a bad experience and it sets them up for like not great success in the future. Same thing with gyms and training. If you had a bad training experience or a gym experience in general, are you so excited to go try a new gym? I highly doubt it. So I totally get the skepticism.
Absolutely. And there's so much skepticism in the supplement industry, which fair enough. There is so much to look at and understand. And there's so many choices to be had. But a lot of times when people are kind of like, oh, I don't believe in supplements, it's mostly because they've had a supplement that had poor quality and led them to the skepticism of the industry.
Right. Totally. You mentioned microfiltration, and obviously, we're talking about quality and all this third party testing. So let's talk about our brand at W3 Body, which is your brand. It's the same supplement. And what are what you guys do to make sure that you do produce quality supplements, because that's one thing that I really love working with you all is that, of course, I trust your products. I would never recommend ones that I don't trust. And I take them myself, and I love the level of quality control. So can you explain what third-party testing that you guys do, or all the different labels, like if you don't mind going through those, because I don't think people pay attention because they don't know what they're looking at, but I'd love to bring that to light.
Absolutely, for sure. I think the biggest thing I want to mention is microfiltration because I just touched on it. What is microfiltration? Sounds like a fancy science word, and it is. Essentially, the process is used mainly in protein, but in other cases, our supplements as well, where it's filtered through very precisely to remove unwanted particles while keeping the quality clean and the protein intact. So, what essentially that means for the consumer is that it's a cleaner product, fewer impurities. You're getting all that protein that says that's on the label, which is super great, better absorption and better digestion. You're not going to have those gut issues and those health issues that you've experienced previously. And the digestion piece is huge because, especially for people who feel bloated or uncomfortable with the protein, that part is going to be super, super big. Additionally, we are registered in an FDA-registered facility, which is super, super awesome. We are third-party tested and independent party tested. We make sure all our stuff kind of gets checked before we even touch it. We want to make sure what we're taking is the correct thing. And we've got a great relationship with our biochemist and our independent testers as well, which is super, super awesome. Additionally, we are gluten-free, made in the USA, NSF certified. We are the Natural Products Association, which means all of our products are naturally made. You're not going to see anything artificial or bad for you in that. So there's really a lot of certifications that a supplement company can have, but again, chooses not to have because of cost. Taking a look at that information on a website is super, super helpful for the consumer.
Yeah. Wow. That's fantastic. I mean, what else could someone ask for in a product, right? In a supplement.
Right? Exactly.
Totally. Totally. And obviously, as you mentioned earlier, like this comes from a place like the origin story, to find cleaner products, but okay, well, let's just make them and make sure that they check all the boxes.
Yeah, it's so funny. We'll go to kind of trade shows and everything like that, and they're like, oh, okay. they're just trying to sell us your product. Like, no, we did not set out to make a supplement company. Trust me, nobody should do that. It is very expensive. We're doing this because there is a true problem out there. There is not enough transparency in this industry and with so many brands on the market. So having that trust with our consumer means more than anything in the world, and it's worth the cost that it is to have a supplement company.
And for gyms, like how awesome to be able to have a private label supplement that we believe in and that we promote. And there's so many great things about, working with GymSupps. You guys make it so easy to just order. There's no minimum orders, like all the resources that you provide on the back end too with education. Like I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than kind of being sold something and then being like, here you go. Go have fun with it. We are very, again, hand in hand, trustful team here. We want to make sure that you can see success from this as well.
Absolutely. So pivoting to one of the most, I would say, popular products among women right now, which is creatine. So this is something, and similar to what you were saying earlier, how you've heard people say, oh, I get, or what were you saying earlier? Like they can just get that at Costco or something?
For half the price.
Right. So if we'll promote different supplements from time to time and talk about like why this is beneficial, etc. And so whenever we like creatine comes around and we're talking about it with the members, I hear every single time, oh yeah, I got that at Costco. I take the one from Costco. And I'm like, oh, but piggybacking off of what you said, but also I'm like, that's so interesting. Like what piqued this person's interest who never really took supplements, but they just decided they're going to take creatine. And so my point is that it's become super popular lately, especially for women. What's your kind of opinion and take on that?
I think people are finally understanding what creatine actually does beyond the old bodybuilding reputation, right? There used to be this big myth with creatine. If you take creatine, you're just going to bulk up. And that's not the case. And I think people are finally kind of understanding it, which is so great. And for women especially, this product is so amazing. It supports strength, muscle retention, and even brain health too. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more in a product, which becomes more important as we're getting older, right? So as we age, we naturally lose this muscle, and that impacts our metabolism, strength, energy, overall health, right? And creatine is one of the most researched supplements on the market. I would say head to head with whey protein, which is crazy because there's now this super craze about make sure we're getting our protein intake in and our creatine, which is so great. It's great that people are finally getting an interest in it, right? So it's really shifted from being seen as a gym supplement to more of a daily support supplement for performance and long-term health, which is awesome.
Yeah. I think the brain health and cognition side of taking creatine has really, people who have been thinking about it really pushed them over the edge to be like, okay, I'm really interested in that among the other benefits. So I love that about it because that's also something that people see an immediate positive result from too, like immediate within like a week to 2 weeks, I would say, given just member feedback.
Absolutely. I can personally say, not just because I work for the company, but probably about a year ago, I was suffering from the worst brain fog. I mean, I could barely finish sentences. It was horrible. And I talked to Jason about it, and we were like, okay, come on. You've actually got to take creatine this time. I'm like, all right, let me try it out. I
I know.
feel like I'm a teenager again. Like, it's crazy. Like, what do you mean I can remember all this stuff? And not only that, but I feel like my muscle retention has been crazy. So there's just so many benefits to it. It's an amazing product.
For sure. For sure. Yes. Agreed. Speaking of creatine quality, all of that, and I know you already touched on it, but we're going to just hammer this point down. What makes your creatine or our creatine different and of higher quality?
Well, we try to keep it really simple, but very intentional when it comes to quality of creatine, right? Again, there is so many on the market, but we use 5 grams of micronized creatine monohydrate, which is the most researched and effective form of creatine. Ours is 200 mesh, which is considered the gold standard because the smaller particle size helps it absorb more effectively in your body. So likely if anybody's purchasing it from, say, Sam's Club or Target or anything like that, it is not 200 mesh and they're having trouble digesting it in their body. So when you think you're getting maybe 5 grams of protein, or excuse me, 5 grams of creatine from that, you're probably getting less than 1. So I would double check about what mesh that is. And this also makes a big difference in digestion, right? It mixes better and everything tastes better as well. And everything is tested for quality and purity, which is super, super great. And we don't add any fillers, no sugar or unnecessary ingredients in our creatine, which I'm starting to see there's a big thing with flavored creatine out on the market, which is
Gross.
crazy. Ours is
Yeah.
unflavored, which is so great. Add it in with your little Hydrate Plus and call it a day. It's super great.
Those are my top two. Top two right there every morning. Yeah, it's the
Same. I
best.
can't go a day without it. It's addicting. It is, but it's
Yeah.
super great for you. So that's awesome.
Well, it's funny because like recently I've been not my best at drinking enough water. And I know that that's a big part of taking creatine. It's very important. And so I'm like, "Ugh, I should probably stop." And I was like, but I don't want to because the results are just so good that I'm like, I don't want to give that up. So I just need to be an adult like I am and just get my water intake in because this is ridiculous. So
Right. And
stupid.
that's what those other products are so helpful for, whether it's like throwing a BCAA in some water or Hydrate Plus. If you can get that water intake in, you're golden.
Absolutely. So personal preference, creatine powder or gummies?
Oh, personally, I tend towards the powder because it's easy to mix in something I'm already drinking. My water intake is like the number one goal for me right now because I am so bad about it. So it's something I'm already drinking. I just toss it in. But I will say there is nothing worse than like going through TSA with a bag of white powder. And they're like, what is this? I'm like, take a look at me. It is not anything bad. I promise it's my creatine. So I've also been loving the gummies for travel recently, and it's also like a fun little sweet treat. I'm like, "Oh, let me just have my 3 little gummies of creatine," which is super awesome.
Yeah.
So both, but I am a diehard fan of the powder.
Yeah. I'm with you for sure. And if any member or anybody is listening to this and is wondering which is better, my answer to that, and I'd love your answer too, Hallie, is whichever one that you can take consistently. And I had friends be like, should I take it in the morning, in the evening when I work out? And I'm like, whatever you can do consistently, do that. So the small, minute details like that, they don't matter if you're not taking it consistently. So that's step one.
Absolutely. As long as you're getting it in to your schedule and whatever works for you is the most important thing. There's no set rules to this specific one, which is super, super great.
Absolutely. So, okay, speaking of Hydrate Plus that you just mentioned, that's the new formula for the electrolytes that you guys have that I just got it. It's in my water now every single day. I love it. I also love the sticks that you guys put out. Like genius. I sometimes I forget I'm in a rush. I left my house today at 4:10 a.m. Like I don't have time to mix it. So, I love that. I can't speak more enough about that in a positive light. What was the idea behind creating the new formula and then the sticks? Curious.
Absolutely. So we created Hydrate Plus because there's a major gap on the market, and specifically with the old formula that we had as well. So we're always evolving over here. A lot of hydration products are either loaded with sugar or there's an incomplete electrolyte balance, which is not great for hydration at all. So we wanted something that would promote people to drink more water and use every single day, not just when they're extremely dehydrated, right? Sometimes you're going to see that loaded down with sodium, but we wanted an easy everyday product, right? Whether it's just for feeling better overall or you're looking for something that supports your workout and recovery, it is super great. And how this differs a little bit from some other popular brands on the market is that it really battles down to balance and simplicity. Hydrate Plus has a better balance of key electrolytes like sodium, potassium, without all the unnecessary like 14 grams of sugars or extra ingredients, right? So we also added magnesium, which is super, super new and is something you're not going to see with other electrolyte products. It helps with things like muscle function, recovery, endurance, kind of calming down with relaxation a little bit. So you're not always on edge when you're on the go. And the packets were like a godsend idea, and the whole thing behind it was how can we get people to take this more consistently? Because that's the number one feedback we get is, well, my clients are loving it, but they're not taking it all the time. So we were like, we need to create something that even the busiest body can take 5 seconds, tear it off, and dump it into their drink. A lot of people know that they should be hydrating better, but it's not always convenient. And the stick packs make it so easy when you're on the go, whether you're traveling or at the gym. It's something so easy to use and it's almost super fun to use. You're like, oh, here we go, my little drink of the day. So it's just something to help with consistency, which is super awesome.
Yeah, it is nice because when you're like, let's just say you already had your water and you want to refill it, but you're like, plain water again. And then this happened to me last week. I found one in my bag and I was like, oh, the day is good.
Right? Exactly. It just
Totally.
makes hydrating a little bit more fun, which
Yeah.
in the long run, it's super awesome for you.
Yes, totally. The small things. If you were talking to a female in her 40s, for example, who is starting her fitness journey, what are the top 3 supplements that you would recommend and why?
Okay, so I'd go with something simple and focus on the basics done well. So if she's just starting out, my first and foremost would be a protein, right? That's going to support muscle recovery and help with staying full, which is so big when you're first starting out, right? When you're first starting out in your training, you're going to be dying of hunger and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. Have a protein shake. You'll be fine and you're going to get that protein in. The second would be creatine, obviously. That helps not only with strength and muscle retention, but brain health as well. So if we're already, say, mid 40s, we're getting to our 50s, we got to start supporting our brain now before it's too late, right? So it just becomes an important product as we age. And third would probably be a multivitamin, just to help fill any gaps and support overall health. Not everyone is getting their perfect nutrition ideally throughout the day. So it's such a great little product that kind of helps you with all those little nutrients that you're definitely missing. You don't need a long list. These 3 perfectly cover a lot and set a strong foundation for you to grow forward with those.
Totally. Those would be my top 3 as well, just for the record. I have another podcast on the top 5 supplements, and then we do a nutrition challenge and we talk about the importance of multivitamins. And I know it's like the most boring probably of all the supplements and not the one that we promote all the time that's like fun to put in your drink and whatnot, like the Hydrate Plus. But it is super important to get that in so you fill the gaps, like you said, which helps fight cravings. Just throwing that out there. So yeah, I totally agree. Great choices. So last parts here that I want to do. I'm going to do a rapid fire myth busting questions here for you. We have got 5 of them. Are you ready? Okay. Perfect. So protein powders are bad for you. True or false?
False. It's a convenient way to hit your protein goals. It's great, especially if it's high quality.
Love it. More supplements equals better results?
False. More isn't better. The right one used consistently are what matter most.
You can get everything you need from food alone?
In a perfect world, maybe, but everybody has gaps in their nutrition, and that's where supplements really help us.
Yes, totally agree. In reality. All right, here's a good one. Creatine makes you bulky.
False. It supports strength and muscle, but it's not going to make you bulky, I promise.
I'm laughing because of your eye roll every time. So good. If it's sold in a big store, it must be safe.
Absolutely not. Just because it's on a shelf doesn't mean it's been thoroughly tested or that it's high quality.
Totally. Awesome. Well, thank you for
Of course.
participating in my myth busting game.
I love it.
What do you think it says, just kind of bringing it home here, about a gym or a brand that chooses higher quality supplements?
I think it says everything about it. You're helping your clients, and obviously, it just builds the trust immensely. Your clients are coming to you because they have their own goals. They want to create those goals and exceed them, right? But to provide them with high quality supplements, it goes beyond it, right? It shows how much you want them to improve. And even more on that, if it's a private label and it's your own brand, you're putting your own reputation out there. And that says everything and more. You're putting everything on the line for your clients.
Totally. Yeah, I agree. And I hope from everything that we talked about, I thought it was such a good way to educate all of our clients and anyone listening to this podcast about just like the state of the industry and what you could be taking, both, you know, bad and good in terms of the supplements that we offer and the trust that they have with brands and stuff like that. So, but thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And after having this conversation, I hope that it's clear to everyone that not all supplements are created equal. If you're putting something into your body every single day, it should be something you trust. So that's exactly why we partnered with GymSupps to create our Fueled by W3 Body line, because we wanted products that match the same standard that we hold in our training. So if you've ever been unsure about supplements, this is your sign to start simple, start smart, and start with something you know is backed by quality. If you have any questions, please come talk with us at the gym. We are so happy to guide you. Thank you again, Hallie from GymSupps. Much appreciated for all of the knowledge and wisdom that you shared today and about all of the high quality processes that you guys are following at GymSupps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Real Women, Real Results. If you loved this episode, be sure to follow the podcast and leave a review. It helps more women find these powerful stories. If you're local and want to join our gym, check out our 4-week trial. Head to train@w3body.com for more info. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, w3body_Berwyn and w3body_Elmhurst for more strength, support, and community. See you next time.